Category 11 is usually the single biggest number in a building's entire life cycle. Bigger than the concrete, bigger than the steel. And it might not even belong on your Scope 3.
Last video's test only gets you through 4 of 15 categories. The other 11 are where most firms either skip categories or misclassify them. Skipping one without documentation fails a Clause 9.2 audit, same as getting one wrong. By the end of this video, you'll classify all 15 categories against your own scope of work. You'll know exactly which ones rarely apply to a contractor, and you'll be able to defend every inclusion and exclusion in your boundary statement.
Category 1 is concrete, steel, materials, your dominant category from last video. 2 ways to calculate it: supplier-specific, using their EPD, or average data, using industry factors. Supplier-specific is more accurate, but rarely available below your Tier 1 suppliers. For concrete specifically, ask for A1 through A3 cradle-to-gate GWP in kilograms CO2 equivalent per cubic meter, not a generic regional number. Category 2 is cranes, plant, equipment you purchase outright, not lease. It's separated from Category 1 because capital goods get used across multiple reporting years. A leased crane is never Category 2. It's Category 8, even if you operate it every day. Depreciation schedule, not purchase date, decides which years the emissions land in. Category 3 covers what's called well-to-tank emissions, extracting, refining, and transporting fuel before you ever burn it. It also covers transmission losses on the electricity you buy. This sits upstream of your Scope 1 and 2 numbers. It's not double counting them. DEFRA and EPA both publish well-to-tank factors separately from combustion factors. Request the one for your specific fuel and region. Category 4 is third-party freight bringing materials to your site. We touched this conceptually last video. It also covers third-party warehousing if you don't run the warehouse. Your own delivery trucks don't belong here. That's Scope 1. If you don't control routing or carrier selection, ask for carrier-reported ton-mile data instead of estimating from distance alone. Category 5 is site waste sent off-site for third-party disposal, recycling, or treatment. Method choice matters here: waste type specific, by treatment method, or average data. Waste you treat or dispose of yourself shifts towards Scope 1, not here. If you're already segregating C and D waste streams, this category gets dramatically easier to calculate than mixed waste ever would. Category 6 is flights, rental cars, trips in vehicles you don't own or operate. An employee's flight to a project site is Category 6, never Scope 1, even though it's work travel. A company-owned vehicle making the same trip would be Scope 1 instead. Same control test from Video 1 applied to travel. Site-based roles travel far less than head office or design teams. Segment your data by role. Category 7 is home-to-work travel. Personal vehicles, public transport. Pick one method: distance-based, fuel-based, or average data, and document it. Remote work emissions are an optional inclusion under current guidance, not mandatory. Site crews driving in and office staff on transit have different profiles. Segment them if your headcount is mixed. Category 8 is assets you lease not already counted in your Scope 1 or 2. Under the operational control approach from Video 1, this is often 0. It only activates if you used equity share or financial control instead. Short-term equipment rental, weeks, not years, almost always lands here. This is the single most common site-level misclassification in this entire category.
Category 9 is transport of what you've sold after it leaves your control, the outbound mirror of Category 4. This applies most directly to manufacturers shipping prefabricated components, less to general contractors. Third-party freight moving your finished product is Category 9, not Category 4. Category 10 applies when what you sell gets further processed by another company before end use. A precast panel manufacturer selling to a fabricator triggers this. For a contractor delivering a finished building, here's exclusion language you can use directly. Not applicable. We deliver a completed structure, not a component requiring further processing. Category 11. This is the one from the start of the video. The building's entire operational energy and water use over its whole lifetime. Often the single largest category in the building's full life cycle, by a wide margin. For most contractors, this sits in the developer's or owner's boundary. Ownership of the sale decides it. But whole life carbon assessments, now required on some major projects, pull this back into the design team's view, even outside your own boundary. Category 12 is emissions from eventual demolition or deconstruction, decades after handover. You estimate it using end-of-life treatment methods available at the time of reporting. It's a real category, even though the event hasn't happened yet. Design for disassembly decisions made today directly change this number. A rare case where your current choices affect a category outside your own boundary. Category 13 is assets you own but lease out to others, the reverse of Category 8. It applies if your firm leases out equipment, plant, or space. For a typical contractor, here's your exclusion language. Not applicable. We do not lease owned assets to third parties. Category 14 is franchises, emissions from franchisees, if you operate that model. This essentially never applies to a direct construction contractor. But not applicable still needs a documented reason. Same Clause 9.2 logic as every other category in this video. Category 15 is investments, equity, debt, or project finance positions not already in your Scope 1 or 2. It applies if you hold minority stakes in joint ventures under the equity share approach. For most contractors, not applicable. No equity share investments held under our documented boundary approach. Let's map all 15 at once. 8 categories upstream, 7 downstream. Same split structure as video 1. Most contractors actively manage 6 to 8 of these. The rest need a documented reason, not silence. A complete inventory boundary statement addresses all 15, not just the obvious ones. You can now classify and document all 15 Scope 3 categories, not just the obvious ones. Combined with Video 01, you have a complete audit-ready classification system for Scopes 1, 2, and 3. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.